Hey friends, you are about to tune in to part 2 of our interview with Doug Warren, who's the owner of DUCTZ in mid-Michigan. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, you should pause the video, jump back into part 1. It's a little bit long. Part 1, we talk about a little bit of his commercial experience, and then we pivot into some residential duct cleaning. And now we're going to talk about some best practices for you, the potential home owner, the potential mover, buyer, seller, what you can do, even if you built your house brand new. We hope that you find this video to be interesting, educational, and a benefit to you. Thanks so much for watching.
But another service that we provide, and this is really important for your homeowners, is dryer vent cleaning.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Dryer vent cleaning, because dryer vent cleaning is, dryer vents are one of the leading causes of residential fires.
Yeah.
And so
we have a client whose house burned down from a dryer vent.
Yeah.
And
that's another one of those services that you don't really think about until the dryer stops working, and then everybody assumes it was the dryer. Oh, something's wrong with the dryer.
Right.
And the newer dryers will tell you, hey, there's a flow issue. There'll be a warning light on the dryer itself.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time when you're having an issue, it is that exhaust vent. It's just clogged up.
Talk about the kind of venting you should use on a dryer.
Yeah, so I mean, if you can hard pipe it, I would always hard pipe.
Yeah.
That gives you the best amount of flow out of a system.
You're saying hard pipe. You're talking about a smooth piece of pipe with
like
no
metal ducting, where a lot of people will use. You guys remember when we used to play with slinkies as a kid?
Yeah.
And so there's this type of pipe, which isn't even up to code in most areas, where they basically take, it almost looks like tinfoil, and wrap it around that slinky. Yeah. And that stuff bunches up so easily, and it tears, and it gets perforated really, really easily. So when you try to handle it, you'll poke holes in it. And the problem with that is, if you're running a gas dryer, first off, you're pumping carbon monoxide inside space.
Oh, wow.
But an electric dryer, both of them are still creating moisture. So if it's not vented properly, you're putting moisture into a space that you don't want moisture in. And with moisture, it comes with moisture.
Mold, right.
And so, not only is your dryer vent one of the leading causes of fires, but it can also create a mold issue for you. So it's important that you're getting that inspected annually and cleaned. I usually tell my clients, it's all dependent on how many people live in the house, how often you're doing dryer, how often you're doing laundry. But if you start to have an issue where it's taking more than one cycle to dry your clothes, something's wrong.
Right?
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And I would always start with the vent, because it's a lot less expensive than replacing a dryer. And if that venting is cleaned, properly and often enough, your dryers will last a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to work as hard.
Yeah. Normal dryer, normal use. How often should you have your dryer vent cleaned?
All the insurance companies and the American Fire Department all says annually. Annually. It's kind of a blanket statement annually, just to make sure people are doing it. Sure. But I always say, because not everybody, if you live alone, you're not doing laundry that often, it probably doesn't need to be done that often. Or if you have a shorter run, it's for the people who have long runs.
What's a long run compared to a short run?
Well, so for instance, because I installed
6 miles, I think is the cutoff.
Depends on your pace.
Right. Yeah.
At my home, because I installed it myself, mine's only 3 feet long.
Okay.
Straight out. Right. You've got something like that, the likelihood of you ever needing to clean it isn't very high. But we do a lot of apartment complexes where it always seems like that's secondary planning for the builder. Where it could be, goes into the wall, there's your first 90. Then it goes up the cavity, and then it goes out, and maybe another 90. It could have 2, 3, 4 90s, or it might go up to the roof. It could be 30, 40 feet long. Wow. And at that point, that dryer is working really, really hard to try to push that lint out of the system.
Yeah. So, and one little clog, one snag in the joint.
Yeah. Well, you guys always see how people will take their dryer and push it right up against the wall, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you look behind it, and it'll be crimped.
Yeah.
Well, guess where all the lint's going to catch first? Yep. And so what'll happen is so much of it'll build up in there that lint will eventually be like this wet mass. Yeah. And you'll get this nasty wet mass in there. And as it builds up more and more, that dryer will start to dry that out, and that's where you'll get the spark.
So, question on those classical slinky type. Why are those even allowed to be cellified?
Yeah.
Cellified. There's a new word.
Yeah.
Why are those still allowable to to purchase in Michigan? Because it's not up to code.
Well, it's not up to code in commercial environments, but in residential people will use them.
Well, inspectors say it's not up to code. They
Really?
use those words.
Then I don't know why they allow them to sell them, because I do know that.
Isn't that correct? Don't we hear them say this is not up to code?
For a new build. New build code is different from anything that's grandfathered in.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I have heard insurance agents tell me before that, hey, if they come out and look at it and that's the type of material they have, they're not going to cover it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we usually, depending on the setup, like sometimes we'll replace those for clients.
Yeah.
Depending on the setup, we will recommend that at least if it's really wonky and you can't hard pipe it, we'll at least use like a semi-rigid.
Is that the one that is still I'll call it expandable metal?
Yeah. Instead of looking like this slinky, like it's got the tin foil, it will bend, but you could still, if you push it up against the wall, you can still destroy it.
Yeah.
You can crimp it, but it is a lot better material.
Now, is that code
Yeah.
commercially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good to know. Yeah. For somebody who, we were just talking today about somebody who could be very burdened by the amount of work that they would have to do in order to sell their house.
Right.
For somebody who doesn't know how to cut, run ductwork,
Yep.
that is a good alternate
Yep.
to if we do see that kind of dry
Well,
venting.
I know that when we go out and visit with people when they're getting ready to sell, if we see that slinky type of vent, well, I say you need to change that.
Yeah.
It's a health and safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost,
Yeah.
we always recommend that they change that. And we need to add in that you need to get it cleaned, just for your own health and safety.
Yeah. Unless you're changing it, and then the pipe is probably clean. Most people don't buy the dirty pipe.
Well, it depends.
Except for the remaining part of the pipe.
Yeah,
sure.
because usually that semi-rigid is going to run a few feet. Then it's going to run into a hard pipe that's going to go outside. I will say sometimes people try to really cut corners and cut costs, and they will run the slinky stuff all the way out. And man, we always have issues with that.
Yeah.
You want that peace of mind of knowing that is vented properly, and you're not going to have any health issues or any fire issues with that.
Yeah. It's
So
better
I
to
know-
reduct your house than it is to reduce the price of your house.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I know that one of the other things that we're getting long in time here, but what about COVID? What about duct cleaning with COVID? Do you have any advice on that?
Well, I mean, just like any other airborne, virus. I mean, it's airborne. It is getting, if it gets into your home, it is getting distributed throughout the system. The biggest thing is, just like we've all been doing, social distance, wipe down surfaces. We're, change your filters.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the biggest thing. Change your
What a
filters.
concept.
Change your filters.
What about these cheap, real fiberglass?
They're not gonna filter anything out.
Okay,
Those
so
will filter anything out.
Do you have a recommendation on
Maybe
the
McDonald's.
minimum quality? Of
We
those?
typically, we always tell our customers MERV 8. So you can go all the way up to a MERV 12.
Okay,
And
MERV 8?
Yeah, MERV 8 is a nice mid-level filter. It's going to filter out most things,
Yeah.
but the problem is like people want to put those allergen filters in, those MERV 12s, get the really good, then they forget about them. And the problem was those things get impacted really quickly.
Okay.
And then your furnace is just starving for air. And you can burn up your furnace if you put a
Right.
higher quality filter in there and you don't check it and replace it.
Wow.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's one of those things. I tell my customers when we clean ducts that, hey, set a reminder on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh.
Monthly, have that
Right.
reminder go off and say, hey, check your filter. If
Right.
you've got one of the larger filters, like the 5-inch ones, those might be rated for 3 months. Hey, every 3 months, make sure your phone's reminding you, hey, check your filter.
Yeah. If you have a smart thermostat too, you can set it up to remind you.
You can, yeah.
Yeah.
But we have been
Yeah.
incredibly busy this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
Indoor air quality is right at the forefront of everybody's thoughts. Right now, you've seen some studies that are saying that it's being distributed in AC systems. So we have been doing a lot of commercial duct cleaning this year to kind of combat
Okay.
that. And so what we'll do is we'll come in and clean it just like we talked about, but then we do use a chemical that we will spray in there, and it's on the EPA's N list, which is for the COVID, SARS, those types of things. But we had to do some testing. We didn't want to just use any type of chemical, so we hired an environmental company called CTEH out of Ottawa, Canada, that did some testing. We wanted to make sure that we were using a chemical that wasn't going to be caustic, that wasn't going to do long-term damage to metal
Right.
ducting.
Right.
And we determine the right type of chemical to use after some exhaustive testing that we can use inside the system and not damage.
You get that exhaustive.
Exhaustive,
test.
yeah, man.
That was good.
Thanks.
You didn't even realize you said that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I did.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a rather exhaustive conversation. Not exhausting,
Yeah.
fortunately,
Exhaustive.
but we
Very
definitely.
informative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Doug. It's cool for me that you started out in education,
Yeah.
and now you, for a living, are educating people.
Yeah.
Just about one specific facet
Right.
of education. Did you want to go into science education?
No,
Does this kind of
actually,
intersect with that?
no, not at all. No, I actually had an RX certification, which is social studies.
Social studies.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so
Yeah.
I majored in history and double
Mhm.
minored in political science and economics. So,
Wow. Yeah.
Well, this has been really educational, informative, and it reminds me of one thing that we can do
Mhm.
to be better and to reflect our values
Mhm.
with the SMART team.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
Yeah.
Doug, thank you so very much.
thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, I think
Appreciate your
elbow
time.
bumps and-
Yeah.
You know, we're really more socially distanced than it looks.
Yeah. Yeah. We were using one of those car mirrors, right?
Yeah, objects in mirror closer than they
Yeah.
appear.
Yeah. Yeah. Closer than they appear. Further than
Further
they,
than
further than
Further
For this application,
Further, yeah,
definitely further.
further. Hey, thanks friends for tuning in to my Smart Team Weekly Update. We know it got a little long. We recognize that. It's because we like each other a little bit. Thanks for sticking out with us, and we hope you learned something. And if you want to hire Doug, we'll make sure that we drop his contact information. Not personal cell. Is that okay?
We'll do business.
Business?
Business,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll give you his home address, and you can go knock on his door if you want to hire Doug with Ducks of Mid-Michigan. Yeah.
Thanks.
Mid-Michigan?
Mid-Michigan, yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.